she will be planning as a Becky Sharp type figure what her next move is. They lose their titles. They are no longer part of the royal family. Information is leaked about them. A third person is brought in who is briefed by them, a sort of Omid Scobie figure or Andrew Morton figure. So that's one possibility.
I want to start this video by thanking Mr. Andrew Lownie. It's been a year since I first interviewed him, and I am so glad he's finally getting the recognition he deserves after being harassed. People tried to discredit him, and in this video he gives us so much more that I hope you get to enjoy it on your Sunday. So I want to thank him because it's such an eye-opener to see what's happening right now in the House of Windsor, unfortunately. So please enjoy the interview. I think it's very, very thorough and very eye-opening for many of us who love the monarchy. I never knew that during my YouTube days when I started my channel that I'd be talking to such an amazing person like you, Andrew. And I want to thank you for coming back to the channel. And there's a lot to talk about your book because I was looking through our interviews, and the first time I interviewed was in June 2024. Gotcha. And boy, has public opinion changed. Because back then when I published you and we talked, we only touched a little bit on Andrew. I got so much backlash in comments. People were not prepared to admit that things were not right, and I was shocked that they kept saying I was attacking Fergie because Fergie had just had cancer and so forth. So I am so pleased that things have changed for you. And I want to talk about 3 or 4 things here because I've been watching you like a hawk. Like I've been basically hailing every interview you give. And I've been listening to people say quite a lot that they're afraid that Andrew is going to spill the beans if he writes a tell-all. Now, this is my question to you. First, the Queen is dead. Prince Philip is dead. I don't believe he has anything on Prince William. I don't believe he has anything on Prince Edward. I don't believe that if he writes something, he will incriminate himself even further because that'd be very stupid. But then again, he's not that bright. So who is afraid that he's going to spill the beans? Who is he going to incriminate if he writes a book?
Well, who one doesn't know what the secrets are. He's pretty loyal to the royal family, so I think it would be unlikely he would do anything too damaging. But I mean, there clearly are rivalries between various members of the family, and he might want to put the boot into particular people, particularly if he feels that he's been hard done by, as he does feel. I don't think he's going to write a book. I mean, I think there's a possibility that Fergie might do a book, or that a third person is brought in who is briefed by them, a sort of Omid Scobie figure or Andrew Morton figure. So that's one possibility. But I think the pressure the palace can put on him is, one, to pay him off, and money is what makes it talks with him. But also pressure on his daughters. If the future of the daughters is threatened, they lose their titles, they are no longer part of the royal family, information is leaked about them, etc. I think he would fall into step. So I think they have ways of controlling that. But it's very hard once the story's out. As you say, he could just sort of go to some journalist and begin to talk quietly, and then claim that he knows nothing about it, and it could be so disguised the material that no one knows where it's come from. I mean, whether he's in revenge mood at the moment, I just don't know. I mean, Charles is clearly having to be quite tough with him, and he's not happy about leaving Royal Lodge or the way he's been treated and losing all his titles. But, hopefully he can see that was required by the family in order to preserve the brand. The brand has been sullied by his behavior, and he's undermined the good work of all the other royals. And I think he must accept that. And he will be thinking, he's a narcissist. He'll be thinking of what's in his own best interests. And his best interests, maybe, as Fergie has sort of worked out over the last 40 years, is to still keep in with the royals. Don't blow up anything at the moment, because you can still use them. And so I'm not too worried about a story like that happening, certainly from him. sure it's the obvious thing that they would have thought about and they would have addressed it.
Yeah. Do you think that King Charles would be worried about what Andrew could say about him? Because it's the only, and I'm not being hateful or spiteful or anything like that, but it's just I've been racking my brains as to who would be concerned about Andrew spilling the beans or incriminating. Because I'm sure he's not going to incriminate the Queen on anything. If anything, the Queen helped him out and covered for him.
Oh yeah, he was a favorite son. I mean, I don't know what secrets there are. There may be secrets, but all I would say is, and maybe some secrets about Charles. Charles doesn't want out. But all I would say is that he's not going to do anything that damages the future of his own daughters within the institution. So we may get some compromise, Fergie, with a few things dropped in. I mean, that's what normally happens with royal books. You get a few little bits that will get you Cyril, and the rest is pretty anodyne. And that's maybe what he does. But I think the best advice I could give them, which isn't great for promoting my book, is that they just go under the radar, disappear, and we just don't hear from them ever again, or not for a long time.
Unfortunately, they're not smart, are they?
No, well, they don't listen to advice. And they like the attention. In some ways, in the past, when there's been controversies around of Sarah, and one would imagine that she would be absolutely appalled, she's actually rather enjoyed the attention. It's given her a new sort of lease of life. So this is why I'm not totally convinced by all these stories that she's having a nervous breakdown and is very upset. She will be planning as a Becky Sharp type figure what her next move is. She's the great survivor. She'll come back. And she'll have worked out a way to play the victim and to try and get public sympathy.
Well, she's trying to do that now with that breakdown story. I don't think she's breaking down because she can't use a title. I mean, how shallow is a person that a title identifies? So I know we have Meghan Markle that travels everywhere with the Duchess title. And I think they're much more alike than we think. The thing with Fergie, I think she's throwing a tantrum, because that is her cash cow, which has been taken away. I've done quite a few videos on Fergie. And actually, when I interviewed you the last time, for the second time, I focused on Fergie, because I've always said that Fergie, it's there. And she's, from what I understand, through her, she introduced, Andrew knows Fergie, Jeffrey
Ghislaine.
Through her.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's the interesting thing, that it was Ghislaine and Fergie who were these great sort of social lionesses in New York. So Fergie introduced Ghislaine to Andrew. According to Ghislaine, Fergie then made a play for Epstein, because, of course, Ghislaine also introduced Andrew to Epstein. Clearly no love lost between the two of them. And I think what we're getting at the moment is leaked material. These emails are coming from Ghislaine. She's clearly taken a store of them as her insurance policy. And she's leaking them, I think, to take attention away from Donald Trump. And to keep the focus on Andrew. Andrew's taking the brunt of this, the media storm. But, once the Epstein files are released, once more of the victims come forward, and I think even some of the legal depositions, that they're not strictly related to him, I think sort of Trump and people like that will suddenly be back in the frame. And that's what Trump's trying to avoid.
Also, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates. I mean,
Yes, no, amazing. A lot of names have been thrown around, and it's difficult to see what the difference is between. Just going in the plane clearly isn't incriminating, but they must have realized that Epstein was a pretty dodgy character, and it was best to keep their distance from him.
What's really interesting? I did a live in the Sean Atwood channel with this former supermodel Barbara, and we focused a lot on Ron Burkle. Right. And while we were digging and talking about it, I came across that Bill Clinton was an advisor to Ron Burkle setting up his private equity firm, Yucaipa. This is way, way back when for Ron Burkle to be attached, because for people who don't know that, Ron Burkle is the now owner of Soho House worldwide. He's at least a majority shareholder. Nick Jones is still in the mix. But it's incredible that people are only, as much as I dislike Andrew, it's incredible that they're only focusing on him when you have bigger fish to fry. You have Bill Clinton, Bill Gates that we know of. There's this other billionaire. I mean, and Ron Burkle. Nobody's talking about that. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's easy. I mean, Andrew's a pretty discredited figure. He's not going to sue. You can pile in on him. And that takes the attention away from everyone else. But I think the thing is, people will move on. They'll get tired of Andrew. They'll run out of stories on Andrew. The fact there's people like you are mentioning these other names, so there is a public appetite to know exactly what the relationship was with Epstein of, let's say, people like Bill Gates and Bill Clinton. We've got it from other people. Amy Robach, when I said we had it all on Bill Clinton.
Yes.
There are lots and lots of people talking about Bill Clinton being closely involved with Epstein. I think it was Steve Hoffenberg had said, Epstein used to boast that his two big Super Bowl trophies were Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew. Now, it could have been just, they were in his little circle and he could sort of boast about knowing them, or he could have had some compromising information on them, which gave him this power over them. So, Clinton, we know with the Whitewater affair, is very good at shutting down stories. And presumably that's what's happened here.
And I have to ask you something, because I've been reading, I saw that you read with your lawyers the lease that Andrew has. And I was looking also that in the UK, you can kick somebody out, or, it makes it easier to evict them for antisocial behavior, which includes, but not limited to, harassing, bullying, destruction of property. And in 2016, Andrew rammed a Range Rover against the gates of Windsor. That is destruction of property. And we know, or at least it's very much alleged, that he is a total bully and harasses personnel, staff from Windsor Castle. And unfortunately, he injured two people who were standing at the gates because he couldn't wait to get, he didn't want to drive around the kilometer that he had to drive around. So he just rammed his Range Rover. The taxpayers picked up the bill for over £80,000 repairing the gates that he destroyed. And the two people that were mildly injured never reported anything. That is more than enough to help him get out of that lease, because and that's a crime too, by the way. So it's not only destruction of property, like this is a crime. You would think that they would have grounds to get rid of him.
Well, I hope that they are looking at all the possibilities of charge, what there are in terms of charging him. There's certainly an argument for misconduct in a public office, partly from trying to get his police protection officer to smear Virginia Giuffre, but also just his time as a special trade envoy. I think there's plenty of evidence from my book to show that he really was bringing that post into disrepute. And it's a taxpayer post. I think it's a civil service post in effect. So, there are grounds to investigate him, I think, to charge him. And the question is, will the law enforcement agencies have the courage to do so? So far, members of the royal family have been above the law. But I think, given public opinion at the moment, they're going to have to make quite a serious fist of the investigation, or else there's going to be, a huge uproar.
Talking about that, I just want to touch a little bit upon the York girls. They're not York girls anymore, are they? The Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, because I believe that they're far shadier than what the public wants to know. People, for some reason, are desperate to paint them as these innocent girls. They're 40 in their 40s. Like, at least one of them is,
35 and 37, yeah. Well, I agree. And they have a big PR campaign behind them that they're the innocent victims and shouldn't be tarred by the sins of their parents. But you're absolutely right. My research showed that they are pretty deeply implicated in their parents' activities. And some of that stuff I couldn't put in for legal reasons. Some of it I was told not to put in just for taste reasons. And not to attack them. But I think the press is beginning to look at them now. And this is, in a sense, one of the stupid things. If the palace had dealt with this sooner and more ruthlessly, we wouldn't have the press beginning to raise all sorts of other questions about police, about royal accountability, questioning the leases that other royals have with their properties. and raising questions about the charitable and business activities of Beatrice and Eugenie.
This may be wishful thinking, but a lot of people said that after that disgraceful display that Andrew showcased at the Duchess of Kent's funeral with Prince William, that Prince William basically pulled the trigger and outed him. I'm hoping that's true, because I think that Prince William has the moral fortitude and he has nothing to hide as far as we know.
Yeah.
So
I think that's interesting. No, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I mean, I think William has had his eyes on Andrew for a long time. I mean, you're absolutely right. He doesn't like him personally. Professionally, he can see that he's very damaging to the crown that William's going to inherit, and he's a much more ruthless character than his father. So, I mean, I think the Duchess of Kent's funeral kind of cemented his views, but I don't think he was ever a fan. I mean, even as a child, there's stories of how he thought his uncle was a bit of a creep. But I do think the Duchess of Kent's funeral was a real eye-opener to a lot of people. They could just see how badly behaved Andrew and Fergie were, shameless in their behavior, and actually how unpopular they were with the royal family. And so I think there've been a series of catalysts that's brought us to the present position. I mean, first of all, my book, which I think emboldened journalists to perhaps begin to write more critical pieces about the Yorks and do a bit more research. Then these leaked emails, which showed that both Sarah and Andrew had lied. There's revelations in the Daily Telegraph about Andrew's links with a Chinese spy. We had a woman, Beatrice Curl from Switzerland, who had met Epstein and Andrew in 1993. So again, showing that Andrew had lied about when he actually got in contact with Epstein. And then Virginia Giuffre's book, which I think has blown everything out of the water, because here we have, as you say, all this detail that we just didn't have before, and stuff like, which you noticed, the AP and the flight logs was Prince Andrew. All that's been confirmed from the horse's mouth. So that makes, I think that just has been a game changer. And now the fact that the royal family have responded in such a sort of mealy-mouthed, half-hearted way just irritated people. And they just felt there's a huge cover-up going on here, and they're demanding more and more. And so actually the royal family have got only themselves to blame for the mess that they're in at the moment, because this is now a wider problem than just Andrew. It's calling into question the activities, the transparency, the
integrity,
probity of other members of the royal family.
Yeah, because who do you think leaked the emails or gave the go-ahead? Because this is just a firm belief, and I could be way off, but I have a feeling that the press has known about this all along, and they just refused to publish it until gave them the go-ahead. Do you think that the press were told? For me, when I watched Prince William on the steps of the church, first I was shocked that Andrew was escorted with police escort there. Yeah. Why? Nobody else. I mean, William, yes, but he's not a working royal, and yet the king authorized for Andrew to have police escort. But watching William I remember thinking to myself very clearly, when I saw him on the steps, I could see, it's like you're watching a train wreck. And I said to myself then, the days for Prince Andrew are numbered, because he went a step too far. But I don't blame Andrew. You see, and again, I don't blame him, because people like him, they don't take subtle clues. They take silence as compliance and as permission to increase the behavior. So for him, the fact that he got police protection to go to that family affair, only in a head like Prince Andrew's and Fergie would think that is okay. Like we can continue. This is all is well. But when I watched that, I was like, Prince William is not going to take this lightly. Do you think that he gave the go-ahead, or what do you think? How do you think this happened, and is it going to be more emails leaked?
I think the interesting thing about the leaked emails is they've appeared in two papers, and so what's happened is they've been bought by the Mail on Sunday, and they've sold on second serial rights to the Sun. The author of both pieces is Daphne Barrack. She's very well connected, very close to Ghislaine. Did the interview with Ghislaine in prison, which again is a pretty extraordinary thing. Don't normally have interviews with prisoners. And so I think this material has come from Ghislaine. Ghislaine has kept this stuff back as I say, her insurance policy. And she's now leaking this stuff, to help Trump, to help her get her pardon. And if the attention can be diverted to Andrew, then that takes the pressure off Trump. It's only going to be a temporary reprieve, because hopefully the Senate Oversight Committee will be able to release it. They will have that final member that will be ratified. And then I think we're going to begin to see lots and lots of secrets coming out about all sorts of people. And there may be less pressure on Andrew at that point.
I was going to ask you about this, because Parliament has spoken. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in 2019, there was parliamentary petitions that people made to Parliament asking them to strip Harry of the Duke title. And their official response was that this is what they did, right? This is way back then when Harry was there. And they basically said that the use of royal titles, this is their official response. The use of royal titles are a matter for Her Majesty the Queen and not the government or Parliament. And just a couple of days ago, you know that they were discussing whether or not to strip Andrew or give the king or whatever of more powers to take away his titles, because in reality, he has not lost any titles. He just decided not to use it. And basically, this is what they said, it completely blew me off. They said that they're not going to interfere. They're not going to do anything, that they're going to allow. And they're talking about the removal titles bill that was introduced by Rachel Maskell. And they said no, but now she's redone it and introduced it again. And then the 2025 proposals ask about the possibility of legislation to remove titles on 19th October 2029. And Ed Miliband said, no, I think it's a matter for them. We're going to be guided by the royal family and His Majesty the King on this. I think the royal family have said that they didn't want to take up parliamentary time with this. There are lots of other things that Parliament is discussing, and this is a matter for His Majesty the King. So they're basically saying that it's up to Charles to do that. And they're asking the royal family to police themselves when clearly they have not done a very good job at it, and not prosecuting them or following this is a bad example. This is like asking Al Capone, you have to police not selling booze. It's not going to work.
Well, I think what's happening is the parliamentarians are passing the buck to the palace and vice versa, in the hope that if they just keep passing it, that everyone will forget. The fact is that in Parliament, I think, is going to make time to remove these titles. The politicians originally were given a 3-line whip by the government to just, not do anything. But they were hearing from their constituents who are very angry and want something to be done. I think about 80% of the population polled recently said that they wanted him stripped of his titles and out of Royal Lodge. So there's a very strong public fervor for change, and the politicians have picked that up. So they could certainly do it. It doesn't take much parliamentary time to do this. Also, the palace have got various options. Queen Margrethe of Denmark took away 4 princely titles from her grandchildren, and we have letters patent, and I know they go back to 1919, and everyone says they can't be changed, but anything is possible if there's a will to do so. And I think the will isn't there. They're using excuses, but once the pressure really builds, you'll find that these things suddenly become possible. So I do think he will lose his titles. He will. Including Prince, I think he will be out of Royal Lodge very, very soon. The talk today is that William and Kate are moving into Forest Lodge, I think in about a week's time during half term, and they want Andrew, who's a mile away, to be out by then. And every picture of Andrew on the Windsor estate just brings home just how close he is to the royal family, and they want him kind of banished. With the Duke of Windsor, they sent him off into exile into France. And I think that's the likely scenario. Andrew will go either to the Middle East, to Switzerland, or possibly Spain, where he's often gone on holiday. There are lots of golf courses. I think he's even at one point was offered a house on one of these estates. So I think that the negotiations are still going on, and he's hanging out on for lots of money and various presumably concessions, and particularly towards his daughters. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if we had an announcement possibly as soon as Monday or Tuesday.
You know who's an interesting character that I found out is fascinating and maybe something for you to look into is Marcus Anderson, who is the global membership ambassador for Soho House, because he's very tight with Eugenie and the York, well, former Yorks. He's very tight with them. He's very influential. He's the best friend of Meghan Markle. He goes with her everywhere. But his life is incredibly interesting because he was taken from this little town here near Toronto, about 90 miles from Toronto. And he was flown he went to move to London, where he started working for Soho House when Soho House opened, and quickly moved through the ranks with Nick Jones. Quickly, to the point that when he turned 40, Nick Jones created a line of rosé wine for him, for his birthday, Lady A, which is really interesting. And a lot of people suspect that he may be Prince Andrew's illegitimate son. God knows that they hunted a lot of women here. But he's an interesting, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I know that I've heard you say that you've had people who told you that there may be a correlation with Meghan Markle in Thailand and Prince Andrew back then. My source here has confirmed that Meghan Markle did hang out with Andrew at a hotel that when they stayed here. She didn't spend the night, but then again, she lived like 4 blocks from where he would stay here.
What's the date for that meeting in Toronto?
It was 2013, September.
Right. Okay, interesting. Gosh.
But Meghan spent a lot of time in New York with the Yorks as well. And they have a lot of friends in common. Like there's pictures with Meghan Markle's current hair guy or whatever that she took to Paris and that she posted in 2014 with the very same guy. And Eugenie's posting pictures with him at the very same time. So Meghan Markle has all pretty much the same friends that Eugenie and Beatrice had. And in 2017, which is very interesting, and I want to hear from you about this, Fergie gave an interview after Meghan Markle got married and everything, welcoming them into the family. And she said that she had never met Meghan Markle until the wedding, right? And yet, Sarah Ferguson attended Tom Inskip's wedding in Jamaica in 2017. Meghan Markle was flown in private plane, allegedly belonging to Rob Burkle. Harry flew economy plus from the United Kingdom to Jamaica. And Fergie, Eugenie, and allegedly Andrew were at that wedding. And not allegedly, for a fact, because there's pictures of Fergie and Eugenie at the wedding that the couple posted with the priest. So we know that is a lie. I've been told that Eugenie was very close to Meghan Markle here, and Meghan Markle would spend a lot of time in New York. Well, Eugenie was there as well. And Meghan, oddly enough, I believe that she's telling the truth on this one, when she gave an interview to Oprah and said that, yeah, Fergie taught her, because there seems to be a very, like when you talk to somebody, you have that familiarity.
Yeah. David Boys wanted to call Meghan in the Andrew case. So, there's lots and lots of circumstantial evidence, as you say, of all these connections. And it's just trying to prove them. I mean, they can say that, well, we went to the wedding, there were lots of people there, we didn't realize they were there or talk to them. But I agree, the connections, and Burkle is clearly a key factor in this, are interesting. And I am looking at that because, as I say, this information came to me from Thailand with someone who didn't know that story, I don't think. And it's just what they were picking up. So, there's more sleuthing to be done. But I think the great thing is, people do put things up on social media, do come forward. And hopefully, with people like us talking about it, they may even put comments or get in touch with either of us to talk about links. Because, clearly people must have come across them, seen them together, know something about the relationships, and can shed some more light to help us put the puzzle together.
Yeah, I've actually been talking to one of Meghan Markle's former assistants. She was one of her assistants for like 8 months here. The stories are terrible. But I wanted to leave because I want to thank you for your time. Why did Harry threaten you? And where did that land? What's happened with that? And have you received other threats other than Harry?
Yes, we've had two legal letters. So the first was from Harry. Both of them from Schillings, actually, the law firm that specializes in what we call slaps, which is basically threatening legal action in order to kind of suppress a book. My own reading is that the statement was that Harry and Andrew had a fight, and it came from a very good source. There was no reason for that person to lie to me. Harry disputes that, and when we got the letter, the publisher said, look, this is one line of the book. It's actually not about Harry. We can just put one line and say Harry denies this, and that's what we've done. And we've have had another word back from Harry. I think Harry was trying to use this, or someone was using Harry to try and undermine the credibility of the book. You know, the argument is, well, if he's got that wrong, what else has he got wrong?
Yeah.
Slightly different situation with Trump, in that Epstein, and I quote that it came from Epstein, so it's not me saying it, but Epstein claimed that Melania had slept with Epstein before Trump, and Trump didn't like that, and she didn't like that. And that's not a new statement. That came from an interview that Epstein gave to a filmmaker called Ian Halperin in 2007. Epstein has said the same thing to Michael Wolff, of course, who's written widely about both Epstein and Trump. And Trump came after Wolff. He also went after the Daily Beast, and he went after James Carville. Now, Michael Wolff has now turned the tables and said, fine, okay, you're suing me. I'm going to countersue you, and I'm going to call on, through what we call deposition, I'm going to call on you to provide evidence to support various things. And he's using this to winkle out information from Trump and to kind of scare Trump. Trump's a bully, but like a lot of bullies, if you start facing them down, they back off. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So with us, again, it wasn't my decision. The publisher said, look, it's Trump is mad, but he's got lots of money, and we're going to spend a lot of time and money just seeing this off. And it doesn't really matter. You know, it's only a claim. It's not part of the story. And so we just put we took that passage, literally one line. We took that line out of the book. I think they claimed that they had withdrawn copies from sale, but in fact, by the time the complaint came, we'd sold copies that had gone out to the shops. So I don't think any copies were withdrawn in the end. We just, when the new printing came in, we just put it in with the missing line. So not a great deal, not a great thing. I think it's very interesting that, you know, we haven't had any more legal letters, nothing from Andrew Ferguson or any of their friends. And that's because we were very careful. It's all been legal. Everything was signed off. Everything's sort of double sourced. I'm very careful, and my reputation was on the line with this book, as was Colin's. So no one's been able to do anything really, because it's all true. And I'm updating the book at the moment. There'll be a new version out in the summer, which I'll send you a copy of. And I've got already about 60 pages of notes with new material.
Are you allowed? I thank you for your time. I'll make this short. Did you take out information for legal reasons from your book that now you wish you could put it in, or do you still think it's too inflammatory, or it's hard to put in, but it's true that now you can see it's like, ugh.
Yes, lots of material like that. So, for example, Peter Mandelson, who was the British ambassador in Washington, was in my book, and now his links with Epstein have been exposed. So that was taken out for legal reasons because we thought Mandelson was litigious. So that will go in the paperback. I had material on how Fergie had stayed in touch with Epstein long after she had publicly disowned him. Again, we didn't. The proof, we needed people who were prepared to give affidavits to support that. And at the time when we went to press, we didn't have someone who could do that. Now we do. So that will go in the paperback. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff that wasn't put in before will go back. And clearly lots of new materials come to light, which I'll be adding.
Oh, good. And you also did meet with Fergie, apparently, when you went to that, you met with Fergie before you did the book to give her a chance. And Andrew, you requested Andrew to meet you, but he didn't. But Fergie did, right?
Yeah, that's right. On the day that Andrew actually settled with Giffray, I think in February 2022. Yeah, I gave her every opportunity to cooperate. It wouldn't be authorized, but it would allow her to shape the narrative. I didn't want anyone to say I was out to do a hatchet job. I wanted to be fair. And not only did she decide not to cooperate, she actually forbade people from talking to me, which is a strange thing to do. So in some ways, I got the best of both worlds, because I'd made every effort to include her, and she chose not to. And as a result, I didn't feel under any obligations to her, which I might have done if I had cooperated. So I was able to put everything in that was allowed legally.
Do you think, and with hindsight, that maybe the York girls or the former York girls, that if they had reached out to you to give their side of the maybe they can now reach out to you so they can put their side forward? Like there was a line in one of the Clear and Present Danger: you can't defuse a bomb once it's gone off, so it's better to do it before. Should they reach out to you to talk to you so they can put their version forward? Because I believe that we haven't seen the end of the emails, to tell you the truth.
No, of course not. I mean, we've only got part of the email chain for a start, and there were thousands and thousands of these emails. So there's a lot more to come out like that. I don't think they would want to talk to me. I mean, clearly I've been the instrument in their downfall. And I'm not sure they have anything valuable for me to hear, because I just don't trust a word any of them says.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything there. All they're going to say is, look at all this wonderful work we've done for charities, or, we're actually well brought up girls. So I'm happy to rely on my own sources and not to rely on anything that they tell me.
Can you tell me that I saw on Twitter, that now to wrap it up, that you're working on a new book about Prince Philip, and if there's anybody out there with sources or stories you would like to call on them to contact you?
Yes, well, thank you. Yes, I am. I'm working on Philip now. I'm a great admirer of Prince Philip, though clearly there are skeletons in his cupboard. And I think there's a whole dimension, particularly in Canada, that no one's ever talked about, his trips there and who he was seeing. So, I mean, I'm always grateful to hear from anyone who's got any information about the subjects, good or bad. It can be treated in complete confidence, or it can be properly credited as people wish. And I hope I'm good at protecting my sources and disguising them, so people don't need to worry that somehow if they talk to me there's going to be trouble. I've been doing this a long time, so there hasn't been a good biography of Philip, a full biography, and I think he's a man of many secrets and many abilities. So I'd love to hear from anyone who has any insights to share.
Yeah, I know that at least one person here has a couple of stories, that they're funny. I mean, they're funny, but I've talked to you about it, and it kind of breaks my heart too, because of what he said. But thank you very much, Andrew. I so appreciate you taking time on a Sunday, and I will be. Thank you, so nice, and please, anybody with information in regards to Prince Philip, good or bad, or not bad, but whatever information you may have, you never know where it leads to, please do contact Mr. Andrew Lownie, and he'll be more than happy to hear from you. And of course, I am so happy, that you put up with so much. They try to discredit you in order to have this book not be bought by people. They try to sue you and harass you. And I am glad that people saw past that and are now reading, and people are questioning more. So thank you very much for that answer.
Thank you. Well, it's all, you're part of that whole process. I think the mainstream media have not have not really challenged the royal family. It's relied on people like you on podcasts and Substack and other things for people to actually raise questions about their accountability. So you've played your part too.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew, and I'll be talking to you later. Thank you.
Talk soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.